My name is Luna Ramirez, and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for BPI in the Columbia, Missouri area. Joining me today is BPI's Kimberly Soderberg. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us. Do you mind by starting and sharing what it is that you do for BPI?
Of course. I am a speech language pathologist with BPI at their Aurora and Oswego locations in Illinois. So what that means is I help support all of the learners in terms of communication, whether that's with their receptive and expressive language, kind of the social piece. I also work with some of my learners on feeding. And the great thing about being with BPI is that we're so close for collaboration. So I get to collaborate every day with the BCBAs and with the OTs and with the parents and their family members. So I love that part about BPI, which is really nice.
Awesome. So I invited you today to talk a little bit about what you were talking about earlier with communication. We wanted to talk about AACs. So can you start us off by sharing what is AAC and what are the different kinds?
Of course. So AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. And just breaking that down a little bit, the word augmentative comes from the word augment, and that just means adding and increasing your speech ability. And then alternative, meaning that if you're not able to speak, AAC is giving you a way to speak through other means. And there's plenty of different kinds of AAC, so many, but I'll break it down even further into unaided AAC and aided AAC. When I say unaided AAC, that just means certain things you use to communicate without a tool. So for example, like our gestures, like every day, me and you will talk using like body language and gesturing to things and using facial expressions. So we can communicate in lots of ways with just our body and our facial expressions. That also would include sign language too. But then we can also break it down even further into aided AAC, which is some more of those things where you need a tool. So for example, some of your learners might use like a textbook. So it's a tool that you would need for AAC. Where learners might use like a simple picture board and like point to things. And it might also go up the ladder into more of like a high-tech AAC, which would be something on sort of like a tablet, which you could point to and touch and it would talk to you. So there's a variety of different ways for AAC and different means that you could use it, but it's all meant to support a learner's communication.
Thank you for showing us all these examples. I think that's such a great way for people to get a better understanding of a lot of these different AAC tools. So I wanted to know who uses AAC and how does someone know if their child could benefit from using AAC?
Right, that's a great question. I think learners can use AAC in a variety of ways. Sometimes I'll use AAC for my learners who seem to have really good speech and they're have very good language skills, but even just supporting some of my learners with simple picture symbols can be very helpful, just to kind of booster and support their receptive language. So if they have those pictures, it's easier for them to kind of follow along with their day. But I also like to use AAC with learners whose speech output might be a little bit lower than expected, because then we can kind of augment their speech and implement some of these AAC options. And with that being said, I think the term that's really important when it comes to AAC is someone being a multimodal communicator, meaning that there's different ways we communicate, kind of like I said before, like even you and me talking, like we're not just using our speech, we're like nodding our heads, we're gesturing. So there's so many ways to communicate, and being a multimodal communicator is very important in our field. So just using it for people that need their speech augmented, and those people who don't have much speech options right now, because then we can kind of use that to give them an alternative access as well. So it's used for a variety of children.
Okay, wonderful. And just out of curiosity, sometimes maybe there's a parent concern of, will it stop their child from talking if it talks for them? What do you have to say kind of about that?
Right, that's a really good question. I think that's probably one of the biggest questions I get from parents as well. And I would say there's been a lot of research studies about this just because it's a big concern with parents. And all of the research has found that using and implementing AAC does not hinder and does not impede a child from speaking. it has found that it may actually increase the speech, just because you have these supports and these alternative access. There's no clear and cut way of, if I give my child this AAC, then they'll start to talk more. So we don't have the answer to that, but what we do know is that it does not stop a child from using their speech in the long run.
That's a good thing to know. So I'm glad that you shared that with us. And in general, thank you so much, Kimberly, for jumping in and sharing a little bit about AACs and the importance of using them. I want to remind everyone that BPI does offer speech at a number of our clinics. You can check on our website to see if there's a clinic near you offering speech, or you can give us a call if you are an existing client. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.